Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Selfish Woman. Can't wait for you guys to meet my guest for today. We're here with Leslie, and Leslie Saglio is an expert in so many things. I'm going to tell you all the things. She has expertise spanning nearly 2 decades, from Hollywood executive to startup co-founder to living overseas. She is a global expert in women's empowerment and embodied feminine leadership. Leslie's a TEDx speaker, certified trauma-informed master coach, facilitator, creator of the Feminine Power and Purpose Immersion, and founder of the On Purpose Collective, transforming the lives of women so they can stop playing small, take center stage in their life and work, and impact the world with their unique influence. And she's been featured in U.S. top lifestyle media, Well and Good, Mind Body Green, Thrive Global, as well as internationally with Virgin, White Ibiza, and Soho House. Welcome, Leslie.
Thank you so much for having me, Val. Excited to be here.
Yeah. I love reading all of the amazing things you're doing in the world, and also that you live in Barcelona, right?
That's correct. I'm in Barcelona, originally from Los
Mhm.
Angeles, California, but I've been in Europe for, I think I stopped counting, but I have to count, I think 17 years now. I've been in Europe.
Wow. Wow. No, I love that because as most people know, I lived in Valencia for 2 years, and Barcelona is one of my all-time favorite cities too. So I just feel like, it's
Mm.
a little piece of that familiar place for me. I love Spain so much.
Yeah, it's a great country.
Yeah. How long have you been in Barcelona?
We've been in Barcelona 7 years now. So before that, 10
Mm.
years in London, where both my
Mhm.
children were born. So it's getting there now. It's nearly getting going to surpass London if we stay long enough.
Starting to feel like another home for you.
It is absolutely. It's
Yeah.
as cliched as it is, home really is where the heart is. You just make
I
it where
know.
it is. And when they say your kids are healthy, happy, then it's good.
It's
It's a good.
so true. It's so true. I mean, I moved back to Canada because all my kids live here and my heart is here. And so, as much as I love Spain, I was like, my heart really was missing my kids and family. And so, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. You understand. Absolutely.
Yeah, I get it. How old are your kids?
My daughter's 14. Wow. And my son is 11 and a half.
All right. Teenagers moving into
Yes, and
that
yours?
teenage years. Oh gosh, mine are, they all just had birthdays. So let me see. Mine are 29, 28, 24.
Amazing. Wow. So yours can babysit mine and mine can
Yep.
babysit someone else's.
There you go. Yeah. I know. I don't have grandchildren yet, though. That's like the next thing now.
Wow. Wow,
Yeah.
wow.
I'm like, take your
Amazing.
time, kids.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not ready
No
yet.
rush.
I know. I'm still
Amazing.
enjoying like the empty nest where I can just like, be totally cool and independent. But I know once there's grandchildren, I'm just going to be obsessed. So I'm like, not
It's
ready.
amazing, isn't it? Those different chapters of our life, and just you never think you're going to get there, and once you're in it, you're like, wow, I'm like in it, present, ready
Yeah.
for it. So
Yeah.
I'm right behind you, Val.
Yes. And it happens so fast.
So fast.
It's crazy. So I'm
Mm.
excited to just dive into everything in your world. You have so much going on, and I'd love to just kind of start with like a little, how'd you get here? I mean, we're talking about some of the things you've done in the past, but I'd love for our listeners to know a bit more of your story about like what led you to where you are now.
Yeah, interesting story, and I'm sure we all have stories.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, I'm coming to you from Barcelona, Spain, but I'm originally from the US. And I've been blessed to have this incredibly international and purposeful life as a wife and mom and entrepreneur, coaching women to unleash and lead in their feminine power so that they can be happy and free to live a life more on purpose and in pleasure. But it was not always like this. I grew up as a brown Asian American girl, Filipino American girl who looked very different than my peers, and I struggled with self-worth and confidence. I got teased and bullied as a young girl, and it just it's pretty painful if I think about it.
Yeah.
And so while I yearned for a sense of belonging and seeking external validation, this is essentially what drove me to work really hard. I spent the majority of my life looking outside myself for answers. And so many years I spent in my masculine, pushing
Mm,
through the pain and striving instead of letting life support me. And, in LA, I graduated from a prestigious business school. I worked for the biggest entertainment studio in the world. And then I became a real estate entrepreneur. I was successful in my own right, but still I played small. Still I lacked confidence and unaware of my self-worth and didn't really put my hand up and speak my truth.
right.
But I did all the things I grew up, I was told would fulfill me, but I still felt that there was something missing. And then in London, when I became a mother after marrying my husband, whom I met online, which was a very taboo subject back then,
Sure.
17 years ago,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
thought for sure when I became a mother that, that was it. That was the missing
Yeah.
piece, for sure. Like I'm complete now. But still, I continued to be hard on myself. Still, I had feelings of shame and guilt because my entire identity up until that point was revolved around my work. I defined myself and my worth around my title and who I was working for
Mm,
and the money I was making and all the things. And it wasn't until my childhood best friend, Bo, passed away from cancer at the tender age of 33 years old, leaving behind her 8-year-old son and her husband.
mm,
And that changed everything for me. I remember flying from London to Los Angeles by myself on this completely full Virgin Atlantic flight, and the tears just started streaming down my face. I mean, there's
mm.
nothing I can do to stop them. I thought, oh yeah, maybe I'll watch a movie, or maybe I, have a glass of wine, like do all those things that normally I would do to
Right.
suppress my emotions. But nothing, I realized in that moment, can take away the pain that I was feeling. And as horrible as that moment was, that truly was my epiphany. And really, from everything, thousands of miles from everything I ever knew, when my childhood best friend passed away, that was the catalyst that made
Mm,
me really wake up and question, how was I living? How was I raising my children? What was I placing importance on and putting my energy on? And that set me on a very deep personal development and spiritual path. And so I realized no more being a lone wolf, no more going
mm.
at life alone. And I hired a mentor. I took control of my life. I got accountability. I learned the tools and practices to stay in a place of calm and clarity. I learned that there is a mind body connection, which I did not know
Right.
previously to,
Right.
what happened with my best friend. And I discovered the steps to get really clear on what was truly my purpose. And when I say that, I mean soul purpose, not goal purpose,
Mm,
and
mm.
busting through those limiting beliefs around my self-worth and truly becoming more confident and beginning to live a more conscious, happy, and meaningful life. And so
Yeah.
that's truly what I would love for every woman that I come in contact with. And while I understand, not everyone's experiences are exactly like mine, but if one of your listeners is out there and this is resonating with them and they feel like they've done all the things and yet they're exhausted, they're tired, they feel like still something's missing,
Yeah.
but they just don't know what it is or they don't know how to get there. That's really, I've thankfully been able to transmute my pain into a greater purpose, in helping women to really get to the other side of their pain and their challenges. So that's really my life's work.
It's so beautiful. There's so many nuggets in there that I'm loving. And the one that you just said was soul purpose, not goal purpose. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love
Mhm.
that so much. Like, what's the difference for you? Because I think, society teaches us how to set goals and how to achieve goals and what that looks like. And from a very, I think, kind of masculine way of doing it. And when I hear soul purpose, it just sounds so yummy. And I'd love to know, like, for you, like, what's the difference?
Yeah, it is so much more yummy.
Yeah.
So yummy. There's so much expansion in the soul purpose. Well, essentially we have either the goal line or the soul line. And yes, there are those things intrinsically on the outside. Yes, I'd like to maybe have a partner, get married, have kids, have a house, own a house, all those things that, on the outside, materialistically, like we set those goals for ourselves. And that's how we kind of know, oh, okay, I'm independent, I have financial freedom, maybe I have time freedom.
Yeah.
But there is a deeper, I believe that, we are these spiritual beings having this human experience. And there's
Mhm.
a part of us, there's an essence of us beyond that humanness, beyond the ego, that will live on and has lived on even before we've incarnated here on this earth. And so there
Mhm.
is there is something there for us in this human experience that will help to evolve us as a spiritual being that's meant to grow us. And sometimes that is not necessarily the goal line and getting, the two-story house with the pool, but it's
Yeah.
like, well, what did it have to take you to get that house? Or maybe you had to go bankrupt and learn a few things before you step fully into really owning and appreciating the house, right? So there's like
Mm.
that whole journey, as opposed to just the goal in mind.
I love that. Yes, having the perspective of how life is teaching us, and that we are always evolving, and how our evolution impacts the external results, and that what I'm hearing in that is really making that shift, I guess, from external to internal, and trusting that as you take care of yourself internally and your growth and your expansion, that you're going to have the external results.
That's it.
Yeah.
Living a life from the inside out, not an outside
Yeah.
in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
absolutely. Which is not something we're taught. That doesn't come natural. And so this is really about learning and really remembering what it's really all about,
Yes.
and breaking generational patterns where it wasn't
Yes.
learned that way, it wasn't taught that way, and being empowered to choose differently.
Yeah, so much yes for that. Like that's so everything that I've also learned, and I know we're all on this journey in this community of realizing that, and that life happens from the inside out. And like you said, we're not taught that. We're not modeled that. We don't have a lot of conditioning and programming as kids of like, this is how you attend to your soul. This is how you process your emotions. And so, yeah, we're just neglected in that sense of um staying connected and in alignment. And so, and I love how you say remembering, because I'm always saying that too. It's really just remembering the truth of who we are and connecting back to that place.
Yes, yes. And that's why I love what you do. And it so resonates with me. I know you talk about not being apologetic and being
Yeah.
selfish and doing all
Hmm.
the things, because that's really what it has to take. Whether someone uses the word selfish or you want to use indulgent, whatever word works for you and lands for you, it's really about choosing you first, because when you
Yep.
choose yourself, then you are able to come from a more resourced, relaxed, and from that space, you're able to really connect with people deeply, able to, and yeah, live that life
Hmm.
that's not just on purpose, but make a bigger impact and income in your life.
Yeah, totally, right? And I love when we tell our stories, because like as you tell your story, there's so many women who are going to resonate with it regardless of the details are different, but it's our soul journey that we all connect with, and we need to tell our stories. Because I read this quote and I can't remember who said it, but like as we tell our story, we unlock a piece of us and we unlock a piece of others. And it's just that resonance of everything you're expressing, of your own journey to finding yourself or remembering, like you said. And my take on a lot of what you said is very similar to me, perhaps, in that externally, maybe it looked like you had all the boxes checked, like the relationship, the kids, the house, whatever, the career. But then inside, you felt a lot was missing, and it led you to really do some deeper soul searching.
Exactly. And that's really, I mean, I tell my clients and community all the time, like, you're never too old, never too early for this
Yeah.
work. You're exactly where you need to be. No one's ever behind. And, it just takes, we all ultimately want the same things in life. It just takes a different form. And, we're all having our own experience and
Hmm.
our soul's purpose. So But
Yeah,
ultimately, yes, we're all just walking each other home. I think it was
I
Ram
know.
Dass that said that.
Ram Dass. I know. I love that so much because we are. And some are further ahead on the path, some are behind, some are beside, but we're all just on that same path. And so
Mhm.
good to remember that. And I love what you said about it's never you're never too early, it's never too late. I hear from a lot of women, I think it's too late for me. I'm 50, I'm 60, I'm 70, like my time has come and gone. There's just too much that's happened and I don't feel like I can find a way forwards or it's too late to change my life. So I know there's a lot of women listening who perhaps are thinking that or feeling that or looking at their life and be like, well, sounds great, but I'm sitting here in this situation. It feels like it's too late for me. So what would you say to somebody who's in that place? Because it's a very real experience for a lot of women.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I've been there. I'll put my hand up.
Me
I didn't
too.
start doing this work until after I had children. And I see all the women on Instagram, posting photos of them breastfeeding. I'm like, really? Like, I
I
didn't have that
know.
experience. And I think that's amazing that some women are so self-actualized that they're so
Mm,
in their fullness and that beautiful, that mother energy. But I didn't do this work until after I became a mom. And believe me, sometimes, yes, very early on doing this work, I was hard on myself. I was like, oh my God, my kids are screwed. We're screwed. We're
right.
screwed.
Yeah.
Like, what? Too late. But it's not. I think the more and more you actually do this work and you're with someone that can really hold that space of compassion and grace, because that's really where the healing is. It's in the
Yeah.
safety. Then you have to really learn that self-compassion for yourself, that you're exactly where you need to be, and that when you start to have that compassion for yourself and when you start to do the healing, then the self-forgiveness comes in, and then the blessings, then you can actually see, I mean, the blessings are always there in our life
Mm,
regardless of how old we are. Did you have your kids early? Did you have kids late? Did you
hmm.
not have kids? Do you not want kids? Like, the blessings are always there, but we're just so attached to certain outcomes in our life. They should be a certain way by a certain time with a certain person, that we don't actually see the grace and the blessings that
Mm,
are in each of our lives wherever we are. And so the more and more you do this work, I just encourage, anyone out there listening, just keep finding someone that resonates with you. Find someone that really speaks to your soul, because we're
mhm,
not meant for everyone. Not everyone's meant for us. And just
mhm.
just just be a seeker. And when you find that person, just allow yourself to just be held, to be seen. I really, really
Yeah.
believe that um, like, we're all, again, as we said, we're walking each other home, and never too late. It's never too early.
Yeah.
Because if that's the
Yeah.
case, then
We're all
we'll
screwed.
never start. There'll always be grass is greener on the other side.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
that's the
for
human,
sure.
that's the ego coming in.
For sure. Yeah. And like you said, you realized you couldn't be a lone wolf if you were gonna really have the healing that you wanted or needed. And I think there's a lot of struggle with women, and I experienced this. I just had this women's retreat that was amazing, and 9 women together, and a lot of what we talked about and realized was that none of them had experienced safe communities of women before, and in fact, they'd experienced a lot of trauma and challenges and judgment and not safe spaces with women, and so it was very healing to have a safe space to be seen, to be held, to be vulnerable, to be messy, and that they showed up more real than they have with anybody in their life. And that to me is, I think, really something that's catching on with women is we have to come together. We have to learn how to create safety, whether it's with one-on-one or groups, in order for us to heal. That's something that's so powerful, and I think that's something that we don't talk about enough.
I'm so glad you brought that up. And I did see that you facilitated a retreat. So I'm like, yes, I'm so there with. I actually just did a retreat. I was a participant. I didn't facilitate.
Mm.
So I'm like coming right out of that energy.
Oh,
And it was
wow.
women's retreat. And that's what I love. Yes, I love working with people one-on-one. And I also see how transformative and powerful and healing it is when you do this work with other women, to be
Yeah.
held and met and seen in that energy. Because like you said, we don't have those spaces, and a lot of us, we do have a sister wound and or mother wound. I haven't met
Mm.
one woman that doesn't.
Yeah.
And so these parts where we've been hurt by the feminine, which is why it doesn't feel safe for us to truly be us, to truly speak our truth and be seen and really be met where we are. And like you said, sometimes it's those people that don't know our history that when we actually feel we feel more safer to share, and they
Yeah.
give us more clarity because we're not filtering or editing what we're saying, and they're
Yeah.
not judged, right? They don't know who we are. So
Right.
I went on this retreat and I didn't come as like TEDx speaker, coach, and mom and wife of two. I was just Leslie. And I
Sure.
didn't tell anyone what I did because I'm like, I just want to come as Leslie. And then eventually they heard, I did a TEDx talk, and then, we started talking about what we do. But I'm like, I just wanted to come as Leslie, that woman,
Mm.
that soul, right? And it's just so beautiful to be able to meet, each other in that space. So absolutely, it's coming together as women, as a sisterhood, that's a lot of where the beautiful work and healing is.
Totally. And I think there's such a longing for women to have that. And yet maybe we don't know how to create it, or we don't believe it exists. Or as you said too, if we have trauma or wounds, mother wound, sister wound, then we end up putting walls up that keep us from actually going into those environments and just doing the lone wolf thing. So, yeah, I love that. I think that's such a huge part of all of our journeys as women, is realizing we need each other and we're all connected.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So connected. We're all connected.
I
We're
know.
more
I
connected
know.
than we know.
I know, right? I love it so much. So, like, going back to, I've actually loved to talk a little bit about those mother wounds, or the things that we carry as women into our lives that maybe we don't even realize are there, but they're impacting us. Is that something that you have experienced in yourself, that you help other women with? Like, what's all of that about? I think that it doesn't get talked about enough.
Hmm. Yeah, good question. Absolutely. It's something that I've done a lot of inner work, shadow work, healing around, and I wouldn't speak so highly about how powerful this work is unless I've done it myself. I believe you can't meet a client if you haven't gone there yourself. So,
Yeah.
I'm very, very making a stand for women that if we truly want to be and reclaim our feminine power, we have to heal our past. We have to heal where we've been wounded by the feminine. And that usually is that first relationship being with our mother.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and so if you know that you've had an issue, let's say we all have mother issues, but if you know that that's the thing, that you have that, like, how do you see that showing up in people's lives?
Mhm. Yeah. Well, people are don't know how to say no. They know how to hold healthy boundaries. They may be a people pleaser. They may be outsourcing their energy or their validation outside of themselves instead of within themselves. They
Mm,
don't trust their own inner experience, what they're feeling, and their intuition. So a lot of
mhm,
it of my work is somatic based. So it's moving from the head into the heart and into the body. What are you actually feeling? Because cognitively, consciously, like, yeah, the mind may have forgotten. We think like it's good, mom's good, we have a good relationship, but the body remembers. The body doesn't lie,
mhm,
and the body's not there to punish us. When we have like, our hearts racing or something's hurting somewhere in our body, like it's a sign, it's a message that our body's trying to tell us that there's something there that's stuck. There's something there that is wanting to be revealed and healed. And so through these somatic based healing and practices and tools, we're able to release and release these emotions and suppressed emotions, which is really just energy,
mhm,
in a healthy way.
mhm. I love that so much, and I think we can all relate as women around this idea of the body is wrong. We've got to punish it. We've got to
Mhm.
mold it. It has to just do what we want, right? And yet we forget to listen to our body. And as you're saying, like, the body is where all of that lives. Instead of, I think what we've been taught is like, just think your way through this. Like, you can just think a different way and it'll be fine. But there's all of this energy stored in the body that I think a lot of people just don't even realize is there.
Yeah, we're a lot of us just remembering and just shining the light on what's been suppressed for thousands of years.
Mm.
even just a women's bleeding cycle, like our menstrual cycle. I
Mhm.
mean, I don't know about you, but me and the lineage of women in my family, like, you didn't talk that that was actually a woman's source of power and it's beautiful. It was kind of like you're dirty, you're shamed, and
Mhm.
all the things. And if anything, it's like, you just want to keep going, and oh, it's arriving, and I just wish I can keep going, going, going. But now I'm like, I feel tired. I feel like I have to take a nap. It's like, well, that's actually what we should be doing. We're not meant to be doing all the time. Our bodies are built like Mother Nature, like the moon. It's like we go through these like pretty much 28-day cycle where it's like you're not meant to be going all the time like the sun, which is very masculine. We're
Yeah.
meant to have these phases of inspiration and doing and execution, and then coming back in and retreating and rest. I mean, that's how we can
Mm.
create a life and a world that's more sustainable.
Yeah, working with our bodies instead of resisting and trying to be what we're not. I just read a quote on Instagram from a guy, so, I'm not gonna say who it was, but some large, motivational speaker, big guy. And he's like, the answer is to push through, power through, work harder, bleed more, all of this stuff. And it's so that bro culture, hustle mentality that's been around for so long. And yet exactly what you're saying is when we as women can actually trust our bodies and our intuition and our cycles and our energy, it's such a different experience to just be in flow and connection, and yet we haven't been shown how to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with, like, I always speak to this, irrespective of gender, we all have both masculine and feminine energy. In
Mhm.
fact, Mother Earth has, yin and yang. You need both, you need balance.
Mhm.
And it's just that it's been so imbalanced for so long. And as
Yeah.
women, we feel that even deeper because we're not in our divine feminine energy and flow. And it's really costing us a lot in our life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and like you said, going back to the mother wound and how it can show up, right? With a lot of those, the people pleasing, the lack of boundaries and all of that. And I think like so many women can relate to that, myself included. That's how I was as well. And, just feeling like I had to be selfless all the time and be everything for everyone else. There's so much of that remembering too of what our power is and where our power is located and how we actually harness that and use that so that we're not just always denying and abandoning ourselves.
Mm, absolutely. Full approval of ourselves.
Mm,
Full
mhm.
approval, not waiting for anyone. Yeah, that's really what it's about. And receiving. I mean, yes, we're master givers as women. We like
Yep.
to give. But actually the feminine is all about receiving. So that's a big part of the work that I do with my clients is allowing themselves to receive. And a lot of us, it's like we minimize, the great things we're doing and the great way we're feeling, and it's really about feeling in your body. Actually, what does it feel like to be received? Because again, this is
Ooh,
a somatic experience. So really allowing yourself and forming those new neural pathways, like
yeah,
that's what it likes to feel good. That's what it feels like to have clarity. That's what it feels like to feel empowered in my choice. That's what it feels like to speak my truth, right? So it's not just a whole mindset like speak your truth, say what you want. It's like, no, 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 no. Actually, how do you feel? How do
yeah,
you feel? And
yeah.
that's where the empowerment is.
As you were saying that about receiving, I just felt it in my own body of like, oh yeah,
Mm,
like it's so challenging to go into that place of receiving when we've been conditioned to be the givers. And I noticed that at the retreat, like it was so much easier for the women to support the person who was being vulnerable. But then when it came time for them to have an opportunity to be vulnerable and receive, it's so uncomfortable, right? And it's like, oh my God, this is so hard. And it's just so challenging for women, a lot of women, to ask for support, to say what they need, or to be in that receiving, or even acknowledging their own beauty, their own power. And I think that's something that we all need healing around.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it feels awkward. I remember one of my first coaches actually just straight up told me in person, your work, Leslie, is you need to learn how to receive. And I didn't
Mm.
understand. I was like, I say thank you. I'm like, I'm grateful for the things in my
Right.
life. And I started to do more of this work. I'm like, receive, ask for support, don't minimize compliments, don't minimize my wins, and celebrate and brag. And yeah, all those juicy things that we don't allow ourselves to. Yeah, it's so important.
Wow. So how are you at receiving now?
I love it.
Yeah, I love.
Of course, there's moments where I'm like, it may feel a little bit stretchy, but then I know I'm like, okay, I'm still human, I'm still alive, it's good. Thank you for allowing me to be human. But it's definitely gotten so much better. And I think
Mhm.
because I'm doing this work, um, I'm constantly, and I'm sure you feel this too, as a coach in the work that you do with women, is that you're being pulled by your vision and your why, and why are you doing this work, which means you need to get a little bit stretchy in your life.
Yeah.
It feels a little
Yep.
bit crunchy, but you're like, well, that's where the magic is, outside the comfort
Mhm.
zone, so let's go.
Mhm. No risk, no magic, as I always say.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think, most women that I talk to are okay, we've got kids and we've raised kids. We know there's a lot you're giving out. So you're giving with your children, you're giving with your partner, you're giving to your career, your job, or whatever. And so we're just in that mode of doing, 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 and giving, giving, giving. And I think it's hard for a lot of women to even comprehend that they could receive, or that there's even someone who's willing to give to them. And I think that comes back to those safe spaces for women to learn how to receive.
Yes, absolutely, which is why I'm so just highly encourage women to seek and find a mentor and a community of like-souled women that
Mhm.
are speaking the same language and doing this work, so that you can uplift each other, because there aren't spaces like that out there that support this feeling, and it's through the feeling is the healing, and is the transformation. So, absolutely, again, never too late. If you have
Right?
kids, grandkids,
Remember
it's
that.
never too late. We need all of you. We need all
Yep.
the women we can doing this work, because there is a ripple effect. And as one of my mentors said, a rising tide lifts all boats. So when one
Mhm.
of us does this work and we're inspired, and even if we just share a little bit of it to the next one, and then
Mhm.
it really does, create a ripple effect, and not just for our generation,
Yes.
but I do believe that this work, when we do it, it heals intergenerationally. It heals backwards and forwards.
Totally. I had chills just listening to you about that. It's so powerful. Like just the idea of women coming together or working with somebody to heal. Like you said, we stand in the gap as and stop generational patterns and cycles. And so doing it for our children or grandchildren, or as you said, like healing the lineage, like there's so much ripple effect when one woman says, no more. I'm gonna heal, I'm gonna deal, because I want to change. But then that ripple effect is incredible. And I believe that that's how we change the world is
Mhm.
women coming together and healing and walking alongside each other and finding those safe spaces so we can actually just come home to who we are. And as you said, the Ram Dass quote, walking
Mhm.
each other home, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
it's
beautiful.
and as you know, just being on both sides, facilitator and participant, it's just so powerful. It's so
Yeah.
powerful, and it's not done enough. But I do believe, the more and more of us that are doing this work, and women getting inspired and sharing it, that we'll get there,
Yep.
hopefully in our in our lifetime.
Hopefully, well, we are, and I love that you are an example of that. You're walking the talk, obviously, and you've done so much of your own work to heal yourself, to heal and change all of your own wounds and generational patterns. And so that's such an example for so many women that as we do our work to heal, we can heal others. So you are creating safe spaces for women, and that is just so powerful, transformational. So I'd love for you to tell us how we can get into your world. How can women find you? Because I feel like this conversation could be triggering for some women who are sitting at home listening and going, well, sounds great, but I don't know even where to start. I don't even know what my wounds are, but I just know
Mhm.
that things aren't working or I feel alone. And so I think it's great to just encourage everyone listening to be like you said, no matter where you are, all you need to do is just want more. You want that freedom, that healing, that transformation. So how can women get into your world?
Well, thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Absolutely. I have a free gift that I would love to gift your listeners, and that will help to kind of unravel what is it that's blocking, what's stopping you from really stepping fully into your feminine power and living on purpose. So my gift to your listeners, it's called Three Keys to Unleash and Lead in Your Feminine Power to Live on Purpose and in Pleasure,
Mm,
no matter what's happening in the world. So it's a checklist
mm.
guide, and they can go to lesliesaglio.com/free gift.
I love that. I'm gonna go and do that myself. That sounds great.
Yes.
And I will put that link in the show notes so everybody can go and get that amazing gift. I think that's a great place for people to start is to just like get that easy little like check-in of like, okay, like assess what's really going on here.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's in there. All the stuff that we've talked about, like what are those qualities? What are those ways of being and living that are more in the unhealthy masculine,
Hmm.
aka patriarchy, versus that more healthy feminine? What are those parts that may be wounded? That's all in there. It's a very short checklist guide just to really start that self-reflection and self-inquiry.
Love it. That's so great. It's so
Mm.
easy and it's just such a good place to start. So everybody make sure you go and do that and get this free gift from Leslie. I this was such a powerful conversation and I'm just so excited for the work you're doing in the world. And I want to be in Barcelona with you. We could hang out and have a glass of wine.
Yes. When you come, I'm not going to say if, because I'm sure you'll come back if you've lived here before.
Oh yeah,
Find your way back here. And yes, let's connect in real life. I always love meeting people in real
absolutely.
life.
I know, right? I love it. Thank you so much for having this chat and hanging out with me. It's just been amazing.
Thank you so much for having me, Val. And hopefully, this has served your community. And as always, together we rise.
Absolutely. I know it will. And yeah, let's all remember that when we tell our stories, it just heals all of us. So thank you for your vulnerability and sharing your story with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you, Val.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.